What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer. So I've been away for a bit, just coming into finals right now, and I'm not going to be able to upload as consistently as I want for a little bit. But still, I have a bit to talk about today, and mainly Gabrielle Slonina, which I feel like is interesting to talk about because one of our top prospects, already a starter in the MLS at 17. I'd say he's almost guaranteed to be an MLS All Star this year, has a good chance to lead the league in clean sheets, and is apparently in line for a move to Europe sooner rather than later. I've already talked about how I think that him moving on to Europe would probably be. I'd like it actually. I can argue playing consistently in the MLS would be good for his development, but if a team's going to be paying this much money for him, you'd expect him to at least become a cup goalkeeper. And honestly, even from like a selfish U.S. men's national team perspective, if he leaves, Chris Brady takes his place, and that's not even much of a downgrade. Might even be an upgrade in the long term. We still have to figure out, but I'm in favor of this move, and we've had a couple of sources talk about this move. And one is in Polish, Katarzyna Parzasaka. Butchered that, but the report there is translated into English is, according to reports in April, Gabrielle Slonina was closely watched by Wolves and Southampton. According to my sources, it looks like a transfer has already been agreed with one of the best English clubs. So, very good move. I'm not too sure about the source. Then Fabrizio Romano said that not only Chelsea are in the race for Gabriel Slonina, the 17-year-old goalkeeper from the Chicago Fire, the Blues were really close to signing Slonina before their sanctions, with Roman and everything. But a host of European top clubs are working on it. Slonina is now close to making a decision on his next club. So if we combine those two, then a top team in England looks like they're going to be signing Slonina pretty soon. Which, this could just all be rumors, but I thought it'd be fun to do like a bit of detective work to try to see what team's that most likely to be. Because, this stuff is behind closed doors, so, tough to say for sure. But I think we have a couple of decent pieces of information, so we get a good guess on what it's going to be. So, firstly, the term the best was used, and I double checked, and that's how it was translated from Polish, the best. So it has to be teams that are really viewed as good, and more specifically, better than Southampton and Wolves. Because, I think if we were talking about a transfer, going to Wolves, that's going to one of the best clubs in England. Probably a top 10, but they use the best as better than Wolves and Southampton. So I'd say possible teams are Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Leicester, with a possibility of Everton, even though they're in the relegation zone right now. For a long time, really before Leicester's rise, I'd say they were viewed as the 7th best club in England. Newcastle, I feel like we can throw them into the mix as well, just historically viewed as a very good club, and probably going to get back to the top with a new ownership group. And I'd say West Ham can be in that consideration as well, because they've been doing great this year, and they look like they're on the rise. So I'd say those 10 clubs are really what we can look at. So, out of those teams, what's most likely? So, I checked Chicago's ownership. They don't have any real relations with ownership from any other club, like any Premier League club. I know that it was like Colorado that had a connection with Arsenal. That's got Austin Trusty moved to Arsenal. There's nothing like that. So, first, let's start out with Manchester City. They have a long-term star goalkeeper in Ederson. Zach Steffen's a backup. Scott Carson's an old head, and Gavin Bazzuno, he's a prospect in their group. So, not to mention they have a few England youth international keepers. So, I really doubt that they'd spend money that would go to Holland on a 17-year-old goalkeeper, especially when they have Ederson, who's already a star. They already have good prospects. So, I really don't think it's going to be Man City. But they have spent money on an MLS goalkeeper before, so I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think it's going to be them. For Liverpool, they have a long-term star in Alisson, a reliable backup goalkeeper who is a prospect in Kelleher. Karius is still in the books, but I doubt he ever plays for them again. Adrian as well, he's only getting older. I can see a possibility where Kelleher would leave for more playing time. I'm not sure it's likely, but there's a possibility. And should Kelleher leave, then I don't think they want Karius as the backup. I don't think Adrian's a long-term solution for them. So there is a possibility that they bring in Slonina as a guy to develop, but that's only should Kelleher leave, and I don't expect that to happen. But again, possible. Then we have Chelsea. They have a long-term, probably a long-term star in Mendy. I believe he's only 30, and that's young for goalkeepers. Then a backup that they want to work in Kepa, but he could easily move on. Bettinelli, decent third option, and a few talented prospects. I could see Slonina going to Chelsea. I mean, they already have had interest before, so it could be there again. And Mendy is only 30, but he could easily decline. Kepa, I could see him leaving. I don't think they want Bettinelli as their long-term guy. So, could Slonina be there? I could see that being like a backup possibility. He goes and becomes their cup goalkeeper. Again, nothing likely yet, but possible. Then we got Manchester United. Good number one goalkeeper in De Gea. Dean Henderson, prospect, good backup. Some old heads in Tom Heaton and Lee Grant. I don't see United making this move. De Gea has been very solid again. He's like an eccentric goalkeeper, but he's been doing well. And Dean Henderson's also pretty solid. Like, they have signed goalkeepers from the MLS before, like Tim Howard, but I don't know. I really don't see this one happening. Arsenal, again, probably doesn't happen. They just found their guy in Ramsdale, just signed Turner as a backup. I don't see Arsenal signing another MLS keeper, so I don't think it's Arsenal. Then we got Tottenham, and Tottenham has a bit of a case. Lloris is coming towards the end of his career. Their backup goalkeeper right now is on loan. Pierluigi Golini, he's on loan from there, but according to the BBC, he's not going to be signing permanently. And their third choice right now is Brandon Austin, and Slonina was a better MLS goalkeeper than Brandon Austin when he was on loan at Orlando. So I think that this one's possible. Slonina could walk in as the backup / cup goalkeeper and would likely be the heir apparent to Hugo Lloris. Brad Friedel was at Tottenham before, so they do have a precedent of American goalkeepers, and I really think that Slonina going to Tottenham is possible. Probably the most likely one out of this list. So I like that move. Leicester is another one that is, again, really possible. Schmeichel is nearing the end of his career. Danny Ward, he's a good backup, and he might even be a goalkeeper for Wales against the US at the World Cup. But he's not really a goalkeeper who is going to make a huge difference in Europe, so I'm not too sure if they want Ward to be the heir to Kasper Schmeichel. They've got an old head in Jakovic, and some young goalkeepers. Chitaro Ndunze, the American, might be their number one young goalkeeper, and Slonina's ahead of him. So there's a very good possibility for Slonina to come in there, be the heir to Schmeichel, and like Tottenham, it's clearly possible, and I could see that move happening. For the other three clubs that are possible, that could possibly be considered the best, Everton, they have Pickford, who's there in the long term, and I don't think they're going to be spending money on a backup goalkeeper when they have a ton of other issues to solve. Newcastle have a solid goalkeeper in Dubravka, good backup in Carl Darlow, and a really talented prospect in Freddie Woodman, so I doubt it's going to be them. And West Ham, they've got Fabianski, who's only getting older. Areola, he's going to be heading back to PSG, and Randolph, Martin, they're not really long-term options, so like Leicester, I feel like that's possible. So amongst the Premier League clubs that are interested in Slonina, I believe that Tottenham and Leicester, they're probably the most likely to go there. I feel like they could easily be the heir apparent there and play their long term. West Ham is also a very good choice as well, but I'm not too sure if the source would consider them the best. It's tough to say. And then Chelsea, they were already interested, so that's definitely possible. And should things fall a certain way, Liverpool's another possibility. I feel like Leicester and Tottenham, they're the most likely. I feel like Leicester could easily be them. They typically make like some really smart young signings with players, and they offer Slonina a realistic path to becoming a starter like relatively quickly. I feel like he'd probably take Danny Ward's job as the backup, and then could easily become the heir to Schmeichel like when he retires, and he doesn't have that much longer left. Tottenham, Chelsea, they're definitely possible. West Ham, again, could see it happening. Liverpool, outside chance if like things fall the right way, but no matter what, looks like we're going to be seeing Gabriel Slonina in Europe in the near future. And since I'm talking about it, I'll address the elephant in the room, the Poland possibility. So he's a Polish dual international, and Poland look like they're going to be calling him up, which stings a little bit, but I'm not too sure if he's going to leave. I'm looking at the pathway to become the Polish goalkeeper, and he has to wait for Szczesny to get out of the way, and Szczesny, he's almost a world-class goalkeeper. He's not, but he's not the lunch table, but he's pretty close. He's the next one down. And then you have a pretty good prospect in Dabrowski, I believe, who's he's back at Fiorentina. I saw he's linked with a couple moves away, but he was a really talented prospect a few years ago. But Slonina could get ahead of him. There's a little bit of blockway there, as opposed to America, where he honestly could be the starter at the World Cup. I don't think he will be, but there's a very good chance that he's going to be our best goalkeeper who's in form, and I think he knows that, and he might leverage that. I think him flirting with Poland, that might be to try to force our hand, which, I'll be honest, I'm fine with. Like, I don't have him ahead of Stefan Turner or Horvath, but, like, I don't feel like any of them are really going to win us a World Cup game. So I'm fine with bringing Slonina as a third choice. And if I think that's what's going on. I could be wrong, because he definitely is talking with the Polish team, even if it is just as a ploy, like, they could convince him, and that would not be a good situation for us. But I think he's going to stay with the American team. If not, hey, we got Chris Brady. He's there to take up the slack. Alex Borto, another dual Polish international. If they get both of them, like, I'll actually be mad. But he's another one. Dewsnap, we got Beavers, like Carrera, like a lot of really talented young American goalkeepers. So I wouldn't be worried no matter what, but I think we can see how good Slonina has a chance of being. So we definitely want to keep him, and I think he will stay. And I'm hoping that this move to Europe goes well for him. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing what Gabrielle Slonina can do. That's all we have to talk about right now. See ya.